Hi, my name is Matthew, and today I'm going to show you how to properly set up a tattoo space. Keep it clean and have enough space to have all the objects that you're going to need for the process and to keep it clean during the process because you need space to do that properly. There are three things that you're going to need. You're going to need a chemical called Maticide, some hand sanitizer, and some water. First thing I'm going to do in this process is clean my own hands using the hand sanitizer. I'll be doing that in between parts of the process, just being mindful that my hands are clean as I move the objects onto the space. Now earlier I referenced a chemical called Cavicide. Maticide also works. You got to make sure it's hospital grade, and then it kills all bacteria. All viral infections are rendered by this. I have a pretty simple setup here. I have a machine and a battery, and the squirt bottle I'm going to be using for water. I'm going to take my Cavicide with clean hands. I've hand sanitized, not gloves, and I'm going to spray them down with the chemical. The chemical needs to sit on them for 4 minutes to be effective, so it'll sit in this saturated layer. Now that I've decided what surface I'm going to be using to put my supplies on, that water that I spoke about earlier is going to come in handy. I'm going to generously get the water on the surface of the object, and I'm going to take my saran wrap and I'm going to place it on there. Once again, clean hands, clean sanitized hands. And it doesn't hurt to clean your hands, even more so like you're using soap and water after using the bathroom and stuff. Just be conscious. Be conscious of what your hands are touching and create a hermetical surface. This surface, prior to being wrapped and in between tattoos, has been sprayed down with Maticide or Cavicide. I'll usually just refer to one. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with the surface that the person is going to be getting tattooed on. And you can do this process with gloves, but you still have to be equally as conscious. Just because you have gloves doesn't necessarily mean they're clean if you're touching a lot of things. So if you put on gloves, you need to be touching only surfaces that can interact with each other, like this, clean surfaces. The surface of the object that the person's getting tattooed on has been Maticided in between tattoos and prior to them getting tattooed. If you have a difficult area like this, just use your intuition, wrap it. Get the water on there, get the saran wrap, once again, still clean hands. Try to cover the surface. Once again, just being conscious of the surfaces that can interact with your tattoo during the tattoo. You also need to be conscious of any variables, people eating food around you, people being unclean. You need to pay attention to the surgical process from the beginning to the end. Now, I happen to already have my parcels of paper cut up. I keep them in a saran wrap fold that's been pre-cut. But they are right there, and they've been hermetically sealed. The next step of the process, once again, cleans hands, is to have the Vaseline, the dental dipstick. Get yourself a little bit of Vaseline out of a clean container. Apply it to the setup. You're not touching the setup any more than you need to. Cup, this is going to be for your ink. Now obviously if you have more inks you're going to need, then you're going to put more cups down. You're going to dip it in the Vaseline so it sticks. Now during the process, the items that we're going to use, like the water ball for example, are going to get their own saran wrap cover. As so, you're going to wrap it so that no part of the bottle that you're gonna touch is gonna be unwrapped. So we got that. We're just gonna throw that on the setup. Now I have a machine. Many machines are different and you have to adapt with it. The clip cord covers will cover over any machine, even if you have the wire that goes to a direct power source. I'll make a separate video on that because that's its own thing. But basically you're creating an opening in it that the machine could fall through, and the machine should end up with a point at which the needle can go through. Now sometimes you got to work with it a little bit to get it to go around the battery. Once again, every battery is different, every machine is different. Just get it covered, keep it clean, try to tie it off at the top like that. It's all covered. Throw it on your setup. But there's one more thing that we need to do, and that's the grip tape. That's to save your wrist, and it's another hermetical seal. You're gonna apply that to the top of the machine up here and try to wrap that around. Try to bring it all the way around where you're gonna hold it. Now everybody likes to wrap it differently. I like to wrap mine heavy at the base, kind of like a paint can. You could be here all day doing this. It really doesn't matter. If you find that that works for you and that gets the tattoo done, that's perfect. Drop that on your setup. And placing ink into the cup that you have on your setup, you should use a paper towel so that you don't get ink everywhere. And place the ink into the cup. Paper towel to close it. Take it away. Do not keep the ink on your setup. Okay. Any needles you're using need to be hermetically sealed. Hermetically sealed. Pull one side of it to open it. That's your setup. That goes on. Now this is what a simple setup should look like. You should have all of these components available on your setup. You have a machine, you have the tattoo needle that's going to perform the tattoo, you have the cup black ink, you also have Vaseline, and you have cloth. Some of these things need a lot more explanation as to how to actually apply. I'll save that for other videos. Thank you so much for being a part of this explanation and sticking by and watching me perform a setup and talk about tattooing. Tattooing is a wonderful thing. It is so much fun. It needs to be done clean. It needs to be done properly. It is a surgery. Aside from that, it's an opportunity for art to be kept on our bodies for the duration of our life. It's a beautiful thing. When opening the ink bottle, I used one of the towels that was on the setup. You will be using a towel that is not on your setup. Anything that you use to touch the bottles, touch anything, can't be put on the setup. That setup has to stay isolated to the process of doing the tattoo. Very important. Also, additionally, the actual tattoo cartridge that you see next to your machine, you need to have gloves on before applying that to the machine. That's the beginning of the process, and that all needs to be locked into glove-only activity. Same with this bottle. Once it's been wrapped, you're not to grab it or refill it with clean hands. If you need to refill this bottle with water, you need to unwrap it. This will be touched with your gloves. This will be part of the tattooing process.